Ooh, that looks tasty. Welcome, folks. To the Hungry Gamer is back with another episode of Boards and Brews, and today I am joined by Kim Breeze of Tabletop Rebellion.
How's it
And
going?
before we can jump into anything, what brewed beverage do we have today? So I have in my fancy Omicron Protocol coffee mug
Ooh, nice.
just some local coffee, locally brewed coffee here to
That's always a
California,
win.
and because it's early, it is still early here.
It's not early here. So I've split the difference. So I have Spreckers brewed and bottled in Glendale, Wisconsin. And this is like all the wonderful things of it's what you want purple to taste like. So this is a grape soda from them. They do several other flavors, but grape is by far my favorite. And we found it on a gaming excursion to a place here in Ohio called Ravenwood Castle, which is a really cool bed and breakfast that has a small gaming convention once a year. They have a library of games, so it was kind of a nice place for us to go hang out, and they carried it. So we have hunted it down locally and can occasionally pick some up. So that was my treat for today. It tastes like you want purple to taste
And so is what I'm hearing. It's made with real purple.
like. Mm-hmm.
It's not
I
artificial
think so.
purple.
It is gluten free and caffeine free, which might be good for this show.
Isn't isn't most soda gluten free?
I think so.
I mean, who puts wheat in soda?
I don't know. Ooh, this would be terrible hoppy. Oh, this would be real bad hoppy. I prepared for the show last night by having an old fashioned, but it was after 5.
You know, it's
Grape
funny.
soda.
If we were doing this later, I would be having an old fashioned. Actually, that's what I was
Oh,
thinking
that's my
about.
favorite. That's my go-to for sure.
Yeah, actually, yeah. My go to has become some bourbon, a little bit of honey in there,
Ooh.
and then fresh lemon juice.
Okay.
And it takes a while to get the balance right because it depends on what your taste is
Yep.
for lemon, right? But
Right.
yeah, there's a really cool spot up in San Francisco that I used to do theater at. One of my other jobs, I do theater,
Nice.
and it's a bar and has two performance spaces, and they call it a gold rush. I don't know if that's
Ooh, I
just what
like
they made
that.
up or it exists in the
Like
world.
that.
I don't know.
I feel
Uh,
like I've had something similar with Four Roses.
but
Being cooped up at home, we've expanded our our
oh yeah,
knowledge
well,
and understanding of bourbons and scotches.
luckily for us, I mean, it was horrible we did it, but we actually were in the process of moving when the pandemic and
Oh
lockdown started.
gosh.
And so we had sold our house, had an offer accepted on the house that we are in now. And then, however, even though all the loans had been approved, they hadn't been locked in.
Oh
And
gosh.
then it was everything started going crazy. And literally by the day, our mortgage broker was calling, say, okay, the numbers just changed again. It just went up,
Oh my gosh.
0.2% or whatever it was, changing. And then in the evening, it was the day that Trump said nobody travels at all in or out of the country, which wasn't what he actually meant, but that's what he said. And the NBA shut down.
Oh god.
And I just told my wife, I said, we need to get our person just
Yeah.
whatever they can get. Don't ask us, just get it because it's going to go bad. And
Yeah.
God bless her, she found a place that did after hours loans based on what the rate
Wow.
was at 5 p.m. that day.
Yeah.
And so we locked in that night. Next day went up 0.5%.
Yeah.
And so finally we were able to get that, and we had to move in the middle of the pandemic, but it took a long time. And because of that, we have a lemon tree, which was the point of this, which comes back around to the Gold Rush, which is a beverage that you should try.
I like that. That's a long way to get there.
So here we go. The first set of rapid fire questions that everybody
Uh-oh.
gets when they come on. Who the crap are you? What is your channel? What is your shtick? And how and why did you get into the review game?
All right. Number 1, I'm Kim Breeze. Lowly little member of the 2-person board gaming group that lives in South Charleston, Ohio. A very, very small farming community. So that's where we're conveniently tucked only 45 minutes away from Origins. So that's where some of that kind of grew. When I say we, I mean my husband and I, although he's the total opposite of me. He's a very quiet fellow who you probably only ever see his hands in most of our reviews,
He's so
not his
quiet. He's
face.
actually in the room right now, and we just don't notice him.
That's right. He's got an invisibility cloak. Also at the grocery store. But so we run a small little channel called Tabletop Rebellion, and we've been doing this for about 2 years. give or take, we have taken the turtles approach to the race of content creation to settle in and figure out what works best for us. So if you go to the channel, we've dabbled in a little bit of everything, and slowly getting into more live streaming because that's something that we can do together. It is so nice to have a partner who likes to game with you in a pandemic because whew, we got a lot of games sitting around here. And so that has been a really nice thing for us to be able to do. So we're getting more into the live streaming side of that because it's
It's funny
fun.
that you say that. I actually just had to tell a designer I can't do a preview for him because I'm playing with my wife, and
Yep.
it's a type of game my wife does not like. She doesn't like them. She's not going to enjoy the game. It doesn't matter how good your game is. She's not going to like it. I'm not going to do that to her because she enjoys games, but she's not playing as many as I am. So I
Right.
gotta pick and choose what I'm going to put on the table, and really got to pick and choose the ones that she's going to be less excited about.
Yeah.
That I think,
You got to
okay,
keep them
you're not
kind
going
of
to be
few and far
excited
between.
about this, but you might like it. Whereas, like with the poor designer outside, there's no way. It's a was like a head to head, almost like Magic the Gathering style battling
Oh,
game,
yeah. We played a few of those.
and she doesn't
Now
like
that would go over
conflict.
okay here, but
Like she doesn't like that direct conflict. I'm like, why
mhm,
would I do that to my marriage? So
right.
I can't
Why
do
bring
that.
more direct content?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
agree. We have the same problem with three-player games, like, so it's just us, and the dogs aren't quite smart enough. They try. They certainly try to get in on the games, like, I'm sure Beatrice does too, but they try to get in on the games. So I've got a couple that I just can't give a good review to yet because I need more people, and I can't do that yet. When we haven't found a great way to do that, across the Zoom call with someone. So they're coming, I promise.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So, and you said that you're dabbling in lots of stuff. So, it sounds like you don't actually have a shtick yet. But
We're
what?
getting there. I feel like I have a newer shtick.
Okay.
Well, we started doing, and they're really fun. We started doing 60-cent component reviews. So 60 seconds. Kudos to all those wonderful content creators who can explain an entire game in 60 seconds. Like, I'm a fast talker. I can't do that. I can't do it. So if you watch our channel, you will hear us often. We love deluxified components, love them. Like, we're total suckers for upgrading components in a game or buying the deluxified edition on Kickstarter. We just love the extra components. I get them. I get that you don't need that to play the game, but we like them. So we turn that into a 60-second kind of segment that we do. Shot in a TikTok style which is not my favorite style to shoot things in, but that's what YouTube likes it in for those types of things, and they're called shorts. So it's called quick bits. So we've done a few of those, and I got a stack of games to uh to get done. It's just been so noisy. We had a lot of snow here, so it's been noisy during the day. And we live in a very old house, so it's hard to get get it quiet enough to record things without snow blowers or plows or the neighbor and his van that beeps when he backs up happening whenever we're trying to
Have
make
you
things.
thought about when that happens, running outside and getting your neighbor or getting the person with the snowblower and saying, take the camera and say, "Hey, look at this component. What is your reaction to this?" Because you're already in my video.
Yeah, our streams we have a muffler man. Like, there's a car with a louder muffler that will come through town periodically. So muffler man will sometimes make an appearance.
I, you
So
know,
that's kind of our shtick. But we've done reviews and how to plays, and we do a lot of Kickstarter previews, which is kind of what we're going to talk about today, and those are super fun. And yeah, we're doing our 60-second things, our live streams. We started doing some panels for content creators. We did our first one back in January. Was that seems so long ago? And we'll have one of those coming up again here relatively soon. I don't have the date for it yet, but relatively soon.
between now and death.
Yes, exactly.
So,
Before taxes. Before taxes.
oh, nice. All right. So, big question. So, what have you been playing most recently? And not necessarily the same thing. What is on your table right now?
I have several things on the table right now in front of me that you all cannot see. The newest is Nouvelle France, which I just got back from. We backed that on Kickstarter, and that just came in last week.
That's a cool.
The
I mean,
box,
because that means New France, right?
yeah,
Wow. So the newest
yeah.
is New France. That's deep.
It's the problem is that it's this big. Like, it's Gloomhaven size. I mean, it's huge. I don't know where it's gonna fit, but so that is. I love Tetris on a board games. This takes it three dimensionally. So
Hmm.
you got these really cool It's kind of very much reminds me of the game that Inside Up has coming out. So now I'm gonna have two like this, which is cool. But they are very strange little 3D puzzle pieces that you're building the foundation of, like a church and some barracks, and then there's another, I forget what the other piece is, and you're racing to build those. So
And
that's
so
on the
is it
table.
a Euro style game, or is it like the era medieval age, which is, well, it's also a Euro style game, but I think that has cards you draw on that one.
Yeah, this one just has a little bit of card. Like you're pulling a card to tell you, I think, which piece that you're playing. And then there's also snowfall that triggers. So there are these really cool three-dimensional. I
And
should
then
have
you
opened
just
the
shake
box.
the whole board and see what falls down.
Thankfully, no. That's I was kind of afraid that's what was going to happen, but these fit around the foundations, and the snow builds up, and so that changes what you're able to score as the snow falls. But
Huh.
table presence is amazing. We haven't got to play through it yet, so it's here. We've been digesting it. We're gonna try to play it this afternoon. I
So
was hoping I get to play it before we talked today,
yeah,
but
when's the 60-second bits? Because now I'm intrigued.
I don't know if I could. I bet I could do one. I bet I could do one on it, but I need the
Oh.
bits. I need the bits. But
All right,
we
so
got Dune Imperium in last week too. Those are the two things on my table that we haven't played yet.
yeah, so on my table, and I've played Dune Imperium. My buddy loves it. Well,
Yeah.
maybe not loves it, likes it a lot. And I played it with him digitally on
Okay.
TTS or maybe table. I don't know, one of those.
Whichever one of those two. Yeah.
And we played it, and then we added in the bot, so we had a third
Yep.
player. And I thought I would say it's good, not great. And now people say that's like an insult. I don't think that's an insult. I mean, it's good. It's
Well,
not.
once you play enough, like, yeah, I don't think that's a bad. Like, if it's good, like, you have to limit great for really great games, because then if everything's great, then nothing's great, right?
That all the time, and I so rarely. It's happening more and more lately. I don't know why that is. Maybe I've just been lucky and been getting better. Better. If you're listening to this big old air quotes here, but better games to where I've had more and more lately. That I can say that, you know what, I can be hyperbolic about it, but
Yeah.
I try not to. You know, I will. You know, it doesn't mean there's not good stuff, but if I'm not like all about it, it's not great. But on my
Yeah.
table, I have a game called Monuments, which
Oh,
had a failed Kickstarter, and they
yeah.
reached out to me shortly after that, and I said I I don't have anybody that's going to play this. If there was a solo mode, I could do it just on the solo mode. And they said, well, we're thinking of designing one. I was like, okay, you know,
Nice.
and usually that means we're thinking about it, and then that's the end of it, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I'll be darned if 5 weeks later I didn't get an email that said, okay, I have a solo mode now, and
Nice.
can
That's
I
pretty
send
cool.
you
Yeah.
cards
They're
from
really
Belgium?
thinking about
And a package showed up from Belgium with cards, and then there was this
it.
huge thing because they're trying to relaunch, and this was almost a month or a couple months ago. And he said, "Well, okay, I've asked someone to send the game on. The game never showed up. Didn't show up. Didn't show up."
Nice.
And then he said it hasn't shown up. I was like, "No." And then he talked to all the other reviewers that had a copy of the game and had all of them send it to me, so one might make it. Now I have copies of this game everywhere in the
Oh my
house.
god.
But so that one, I'm hoping to get my last couple plays in to
That's
really
cool. I
kind of figure out
remember
how that
seeing that
works.
one.
It's got some neat stacking monuments, kind of like Lords of Hellas, just
Okay.
type of thing. So we'll totally to be determined. So that's what's on my table right now. But what have you been playing the
Very
most
cool.
lately?
So I've been playing the most, and recently, Planet Unknown, on Sovereignty, because the game hasn't delivered on Kickstarter yet.
Oh, it hasn't delivered yet.
It hasn't.
Because I've been wanting to play it, and I keep having well, whenever they do it on the Sovereignty on their game nights, it's the same day that I have my student council meetings.
Oh yeah.
So it makes it really hard. And for anybody, Sovereignty. There's the. Hopefully, it doesn't come through backwards for you guys. Um,
It's not for me, but that doesn't mean that it's not. It's so I tried this one on a whim, playing on one of the game nights on Sovereignty. That game is everything I wanted Terraforming Mars to be that it wasn't. And it
so
is.
not long and fun.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say that, guys. I've never played Terraforming Mars. I just have no interest in it.
I kept waiting on. I'm like, okay, we did all the stuff. When does the stuff happen? And it just didn't. I know. I know that I'm in the minority of that. That game just doesn't do it for me. But one, I love Tetris. I love polynomials, so I love Tetris on a board. You're doing that. There are several different planets that you can choose from. So we tried that the last time. That's the first time I played on a different planet. So there's all different patterns that you were trying to complete rows and commons as or columns as you're terraforming. You can get little rovers, which is probably my favorite part of the game. And your little rovers will pick up life pods and meteorites, and it is joyously good fun. And there's just a lot of I've played that several times on there, and no game has ever been the same. Like now, you have these different planets that you can play. There's different objective cards that come out into it, and some are easier, and then like a middle stage and a harder. So even if you get used to the game, now you can up which tier of event cards you're playing with and make it harder because once you get up to the hard level, it's just all bad stuff that happens to you. That game is crazy satisfying to play.
Yeah, I've been well, keep trying. Whenever it comes up, they're gonna run one of those nights. I keep saying I'm gonna play, and it just keeps not ever happening. But
We could
eventually,
set one up. We could do one on an off night because I
yeah,
have a subscription.
so do I. And everyone, so could you, because coming
Good.
up soon, I have a giveaway, which is going to give away a whole bunch of codes for a 90-day gold subscription to Sovereignty. So, Sovereignty,
We
where the
may or may
games
not have
are.
some to give away on Tuesday night. So yeah.
Mm. I don't know if that's their tagline, but it should be where the games are.
It is so far everything I've played on there has been a lot of fun, but that's what I've played the most recently and really the most often. And it was because of that I late back to that game.
The
I can't wait to get the actual physical copy. I think it's going to be crazy amazing table presence.
yeah, the for me, I've been playing a lot of Perdition's Mouth, which is an
Ooh,
older dungeon crawl, dark dungeon crawl.
nice.
Go down into the dungeon and stop the cultists from summoning the insect god.
I like it.
Like you do.
I like dungeon crawls.
Yeah. But what's interesting, and so this was sent to me to kind of do a two-part review. I'm doing a review of the base game. Then after that'll go out, then I'm going to go and I'll look at the first expansion and do a second one of that, kind of in the lead up to their big Kickstarter that they're
Ooh,
doing Q3 or Q4.
okay.
And
I'm gonna watch for that one.
the interesting stuff about it is it's more of a Euro dungeon crawl,
Interesting.
kind of like Gloomhaven is a kind of a Euro-y dungeon crawl.
Yeah,
But those people try to say it's a Euro, but it's not because those cards are just like they're just like dice, you know.
yeah.
But the card play and stuff like that. This one has a rondelle system and cards,
Ooh, I love
and so
rondelles.
you're always going around the rondelle and kind of picking. Okay, if I've done a charge this turn, I
Okay.
got to move all the way back around that rondelle before I can do that again. And so you're kind
Oh,
of
that's cool.
yeah, it's really really interesting,
To watch for that.
and it's hard. It's hard because every time
Mhm.
you get hurt, you not only do you lose some life, which gives you less action points and blah 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 blah, but you have to add a wound card into your deck on the top
Oh,
of your deck. So that's the next thing you're gonna get, and it's possible that if you get it's bugs, so you get infested by bugs. That's what
yeah.
happens. If you get two of the infested ones in your hand, you just dead. So you got to get
Ooh,
rid of these things. You get rid of them by playing them on your actions, which makes your actions you're trying to do
yeah.
crappier,
Yep.
and they carry over game to game to game. So there's no leveling up. You might find some gear. You start as strong as you're going to be, and by the time you get all the way down to the boss at the end, which I have not gotten there, you are beat up.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's so
so
thematic, though.
yeah, and which I think is really cool. The other thing that's
Yeah.
neat is it's built into the game that's like, yeah, I think I have 7 heroes. And I get in theory you can play 6. That's too much for you to manage.
Yeah.
I've been playing 4 because they're not that hard to manage. There's not a lot going on with the actual player boards. But it says specifically switch them out in between levels. Like
Oh, okay.
use who you want.
Yeah.
Read the brief, see what's going on, and pick who you want to take out, who might be the most useful.
That's kinda cool.
Yeah. So it's
Ooh.
all very, very clever. It did
Yeah.
like the people who like it really like it. And I'm still early on, but the challenges are it's very different than a normal dungeon crawl. The managing that little rondelle is
Yeah.
kind of it's hard. The game itself is very hard and so so we're gonna see how it goes. But so that's I've been playing that a whole bunch
That sounds
lately,
cool.
and tied with that is this monstrosity, Dwellings of Eldervale.
I'm kicking myself for not backing. I'm kicking myself for missing the boat on that one.
Yeah, you blew it. Totally blew it. I
I
got
don't know
lucky
what
enough
kind of
that
lockdown, Kickstarter lockdown I'd put myself in because sometimes I get a little out of control.
mhm,
And I'm pretty sure that that's what happened. And I thought, no, it'll be fine. And now I'm seeing everybody else with it, and I'm so jealous. I'm
I
so
got I got
jealous.
lucky enough that the Peter Vaughn, who's now with Cardboard Alchemy, but he was the guy behind it. He sent me one of the legendary copies,
Oh, cool.
which is totally unnecessary. But those noise, the little, I just had finished editing my review that's coming out, and you can actually see it. But noise making bases when you move the monsters and they roar.
That's awesome.
It's
That's the crazy kind of stuff I love.
yeah,
Deluxified components for the
and you
win.
blew it.
Gosh.
But and so I've been playing a whole bunch of that solo, and then playing it with other people through the. They have a very good TTS mod.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I just played a
When you
five
find a good
player.
mod on TTS, it's not too bad. Like when you find, because is it one of the ones that's kind of programmed too?
Oh, it even scores the end of the game
Oh,
for you.
I love that.
Like
That's my
it's
kind of TTS mod.
yep. You drag a new tile out and it populates it with what you need, and
Oh, that's nice. Because
mm,
otherwise, you'll take 3 times as long to play the game while you have to manipulate
mhm.
everything to get it on your board. That's
Yeah,
why I don't play as much TTS.
yeah, it's a little bit longer for that, but as far as playing a game digitally, it goes about as fast as any of them are going to go.
Cool.
So yeah, we played a 5 max player count game. I got Peter Vaughn was in there and some other people from Cardboard Alchemy, and it took a
Nice.
long time to play a 5 player. I mean, 5 player game, that's a
Oh
lot.
yeah, yeah. Because that's just, I mean, the nature of the beast with 5
Yeah,
players.
but it blast. So I'm having a great time with
Cool.
that one. Yeah.
Good thing you're several time zones away.
That's right.
Me and the
Uh,
dogs would hop in the car.
yeah. And Beatrice would be unhappy. She does not like other dogs. She jumps up on a chair and just looks down at them. Is like,
Looks
ugh, you
that's
peasant.
too funny.
All right,
Her
but
kingdom. It's her palace. I understand.
yeah, but now speaking about you blowing it on Kickstarter, that's a perfect segue into our main topic when we're talking about crowdfunding.
Yeah.
And most people agree that when it comes to board games, crowdfunding has been a boon overall. A lot of stuff that would never be created is there.
Right.
Perhaps it's a bit of a has turned into a bit of its own little monster, and which is actually the topic
Hmm.
that I'm going to be talking about with a Walker from So Very Wrong About Games on the next episode, kind of
Nice.
the seedy underbelly of crowdfunding.
I like it.
But overall, it's been good for the industry. And now there are so many campaigns and there are so many games out there. I saw a stat that I
Yeah.
did not fact check, but that upwards of 30% of what Kickstarter makes in the year comes from board games.
Wow.
Now, did not fact check that. I have no
A lot of it
idea.
coming out of my pocketbook. I can tell
Yeah,
you
so it
that.
could just be, some dude named Joe thought it sounded good.
You can make statistics say whatever you want them to. It's fine. One way or another, we could make that factual.
Yeah, right, but the fact that that is believable to us,
Yeah.
it's
I
that
could, for small as a community as board gaming is in the realm of everything else in the world, that's a lot. And honestly, I've backed one other thing on Kickstarter that was not board game related ever.
yep,
And I
I backed a
probably wouldn't
book.
necessarily do it again.
Yeah, I backed a book because a friend of mine wrote it, and I threw some, and we backed another book because my wife's cousin was the artist,
Those are legit.
and backed a documentary because a good friend of ours, her son, was making it.
That's pretty cool. Now those are
So
all like admirable reasons too. I backed a plant thing because I kill plants. So it's this thing that hangs on the wall, and our basil plant in the kitchen is about half alive in it. So I don't know that it really fixed the overall problem of me killing plants.
well, you haven't killed it yet, so it's working so
Not dead
far.
yet. It's just a flesh wound.
But with all of these different campaigns, and it's just there are so many because people used to try to say, "When's a good time to launch my campaign?" The answer
There
is there
is
is
no
no
good
good
time.
time anymore. There's
No.
always something huge, and
Yep.
you have all these big companies are using it as their marketing and as everything. I would talk about, come on, mainly is what everyone thinks about. Like
Everyone
or not,
did an eye roll all together at the same time whenever you said
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. So there really is no good time to launch. Now there are definitely some worse times.
Yeah,
Don't be doing your pledge manager right around Christmas time.
exactly.
But what so to get noticed in all of that has become harder and harder and harder. So
Yeah.
what we're talking about here is what makes for a good campaign that's going to engage people and make, if you're not the come-ons of the world, and make people come to you is what we're talking about. So what are your thoughts? I'll let you go first because I've been
Mm.
babbling.
So I know we've seen some people, "Hey, I'm gonna launch my Kickstarter in a couple of weeks," and it's the first time I've ever heard about it. So it's really starting that marketing and talking up the game several months, if not, I would almost say closer to a year before, just because it takes so long for word to spread if you're small and unknown, if you're not one of those big companies. That if you don't start marketing that early on, then it's unless it's a low goal or something like that, or it just happens to capture the right people's eyes. It seems like those ones that just come out of the woodwork all of a sudden, "Hey, we're gonna go to Kickstarter in a couple of months." It's just not you gotta talk it up. It just takes a long time for that stuff to ripple through the board game channels, through different content creators, getting it somewhere that people can see it, which is super hard now without conventions. So is that like, I don't know what the added cost is to try to get yourself a digital I know I'm sure it's not easy to get a digital version of a game that you could show people if
Yeah,
you
what I
can't
have
go to
learned
a
is,
convention.
at least with a tabletop simulator, it's not easy in the sense that it's tricky to do, but any moron can do it. And I say any moron can do it because my brother has done it for a few of the games that he's been designing and is pitching to publishers. And he did it. He had to ask some questions of
Nice.
some people and watch some YouTube videos,
Yeah.
but he was able to do it. So it is possible. It's very labor intensive. Takes a lot of time, but it's almost, I would almost say you got to do it nowadays.
Yeah.
You got to have it somewhere digitally where people can try it, because if you don't, people will just assume that you're not serious almost.
Right. Yeah, that's the biggest thing. Like if you're not passionate about the project to put that kind of stuff behind it, then it's hard. Then how are you selling that passion to somebody else, right?
And even though that doesn't actually make sense, it's not actually true, but that's just kind of what it's kind of developed. That's kind of that Kickstarter and Game Found um, thing that exists. And along with that, you have the, well, you haven't created a lot of successful campaigns before, so
Yeah.
that one
Although
drives me insane. I hate that so
it's so
much.
unfair. It's the same thing as when you get hired for a job. Well, you've never had this experience before. I know, that's why I'm trying to get a job doing this. Like it's the same. Like I can't have experience if you don't give me the job to have experience. And I feel like it's the same way with a Kickstarter. So we knock on wood, knocking on my table. We have not been burned by a Kickstarter. I had one take a couple of years to come, but it still came. And I know that I've read, comments online where they bought into this one and it never showed up. I'm not getting into great big games that have never produced before, but the smaller, more independent publishers who seem passionate about it and it's not a huge price tag, then that's usually what we're supporting often. And we've never been burned by it. Knock
Yeah,
on
the
wood, like I
closest I've
said.
come to being burned was uh, Golden Bell Studios.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the Unburned. Now, I actually wound up getting mine. I moved it on quickly just because the experience was so negative. I was like, I
Yeah.
don't want this anymore. Um, like, so that's the worst one that I've been involved. But some of my buddies have a couple of things that they backed, which are apparently happens more on the video game side of it.
Yeah. I've heard a lot more of that on the video game side.
Yeah, like so some my buddy, he has one that is I think like 6 years old now.
Wow. I would just be probably wiping my hands of it at that point going, "Well, that's never gonna show up."
Oh
But
yeah, yeah. That's what he's done about it. But it's just a, it does happen. But thankfully not nearly as much. Along with that, though, that there are. Oh wait, no, we didn't. So, but the things that make for a good campaign while you're in it, because there's that. To me, I think there's that engagement
oh,
part of it.
yeah, yeah.
Like you have to, especially the smaller companies, if you aren't engaging your backers enough to where they're going out and proselytizing for you,
Yep.
then you're going to struggle. And it's how do How does that happen? So when you're in a campaign, what is it that makes you want to run out and say, "Everybody, you have to"?
Yeah, and I've actually had a couple of those lately that I've been just as excited about the project, even being somebody who's created content for it. I'm a backer on it because I believe in the project. But you see some of them do things where, hey, if you back us day one, you're going to get your name on the box. And I'm sorry, people like that. It's cool. It's cool to have a game on your shelf that has your name on it. That I'm never going to design a game, so it's not getting on there that way. So I think
I'll
that's
sell you a Sharpie for $30,
I
and you
could
can
do
put your
that.
name on a
It's
lot
just
of
I
boxes.
need a real fine point one though to get it, or I need to get some real good calligraphy.
Oh, if you want the fine point, that'll be 45
Oh,
and extra
jeez,
shipping. But
price gouging. But it's like so certain things like that I think catch the attention. And you have some anomalies out there. So I'll Core Quest is the one that I was shouting to the rooftops about because not just because Dan and Core are two incredibly wonderful humans, but this was such a passion project of theirs that you couldn't help but listen to them talk about it and be excited. But they did frequent Facebook chats. They created a Facebook page for the game that they were able to do a lot of marketing stuff ahead of time, get followers from it that way. They'd had different events during the campaign, so asking for people to or for kids to submit drawings to be in the game. And Fight in a Box is doing something very similar with Mouse, Cheese, Cat, Cucumber, where there are things ongoing during the campaign that keep me as a backer engaged and interested. Fight in a Box is doing different challenges each week. You as you do different challenges, you get submitted to possibly be created and drawn into the universe that this game exists in. How flippin' cool is that?
yeah.
Of
So
course I want to do that.
talking about the Cora quest, it's right over there. One of
Mhm.
the people who did the one of their playthroughs, Barrett from Meet Me at the Table,
Oh yeah.
he finished. He said, "You want to try it?" I was like, "Sure," and he
It's really
dropped it.
fun.
It's sitting right. It's still sealed because it got there, and I was like, "Well, I don't. There's no way I'm going to be able to do anything before the campaign's over." So it's still
Yeah.
just kind of sitting over there.
And I understand that it is a game directed as a family game. I mean, one, I'm not gonna lie, being able to create a character and put it in the game is incredibly fun. It took us I wasn't kidding when I said in our review that about 35 seconds into that, we created one of our dogs as a character because why not?
Oh yeah,
Um,
Beatrice is absolutely going to be in that game,
yeah, like Waffles
without a
is in
doubt.
there. Like, see, they could go on Dungeons Quest together. It would be fantastic.
That is kind of my goal, that if I ever make it into some kind of dungeon game,
Yep.
clearly I have an animal companion, and clearly
Yes.
they have to make Beatrice huge, like
Yep. That's
a
kind of where we are too.
yeah, just
It's
this
like
ginormous elephant-sized Beatrice that travels along with me.
I love it
That's the game.
with her grumpy face.
Oh yeah, she's very upset.
I
She's
love
very
it.
angry. She's cute.
She's incredibly cute. But I mean that thing I don't have children. I still back the game because we had fun playing the game without it having kids involved. They've made that thing so customizable, and I think Dane even mentioned of having some stat corrections that if you wanted it to be harder for just adults, you could. We played it at normal range and still barely beat the baddie. So it's not like just a, walk in the park perusing. They put game into that game. I would say the same thing for Mouse Cheese, which I know we were going to talk about later. Like, this is a tiny little box, and there is a ton of game in that box. Like, there's a lot more thinky stuff going on in there than you expect. And I don't know that you would know that unless you saw, but all the effort that's going into these campaigns, those are the two that stand out in my mind most recently. Inside Up is doing their block and key campaign. They always do a good job of being very engaging during their campaign too, over on their Discord channel and certain things like that. And those are the ones that I see from small publishers who are not always going to get the 30-second funding because they're a huge publisher. They're digging in and they're putting so much effort and so much love just even into the Kickstarter pages. They're vibrant, there's a ton of information on there, but it's well organized, and that's the kind of stuff I think that helps them succeed.
Yeah, one of the companies I always think about that just does amazing campaigns, and they're larger, but is Chip Theory Games.
Oh yeah.
And because as I haven't gotten in on all of their campaigns, but the ones that I have, they always have these stories that are going along with the characters, and we are making where the backers are voting on what's what choice is the
Yes,
character
I think
going to
that's
make,
great when they do that.
and those things actually get into the game in
Mhm.
some cases, like with the one of the Too Many Bones campaigns.
Oh, yeah.
We we named the wolf,
That's
and we
cool.
named it incorrectly because they did not pick Snarls, which was a way better name than Nightshade.
Of course. Well, duh. That would have been my
Shame
vote.
on everybody who voted incorrectly.
Absolutely.
But those things kind of get, and it was very, very exciting and
Yeah.
very, it
I
just,
feel that you feel now you're vested, right? That's the key. You have to get if I feel vested in a campaign, I'm going to talk about it in every group that I'm in, on content that I create, on content I create with other creators. That's what that's what really reels me in on it. And then you just feel passionate about it too.
yeah. And it's the thing that works for them, and kind of, I guess, what I would toss out to any future potential creators is they have all this involvement and all this story and all this lore, and that it actually makes it into the game,
Right.
which is the key. So, another company that does very good campaigns is Druid City Skybound Games.
Oh, yes.
They do excellent
Yeah.
campaigns. And what I had found in the past was that didn't always translate into the game. Whereas, so I think of one of their earlier ones, Guardian's Call. I got it sent to me after the fact, and I went back. I was looking at the campaign. There's all this lore and all this story about these characters, and I was, engaged. But then none of that's in the game.
Yeah.
And it looks like they've changed because I just got the Valor and Villainy finally arrived, which I had backed solely
Ooh.
because of the campaign and the story they were creating and the
Mhm.
lore and the art. And then it finally got here. I was like, well, oh, it's gonna happen again. I'm a sucker. I got grabbed. But then it actually is in the game and it's actually there. And so I think maybe they've figured that out.
Yeah.
But they run a great campaign, very exciting campaigns. And I think that that's kind of the key. And one of the things that they do is they're constantly in the comments. They're constantly
Yes.
making updates. And I think what happens with a lot of smaller campaigns is it doesn't start out hot and they go silent.
Mhm.
And that's not when you need to go silent. Not a woe is me, but
Yeah.
find the three people that are commenting and engage with them. And because when you see there's 1,000 comments, you're like, oh, something's going on here. I gotta look
Exactly.
at that.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's well, I don't know, you start to build a personal connection with someone, whether it's a content creator or a publisher. But if you answer me on a comment that I made, like that, you've done something that not everybody does, and that's special to me. I
Yeah,
know.
and people see that
Yes. And
because
they see you doing this and you're like, "Wow." And I get that that is very little. I'm sure most publishers and design are not getting a ton of sleep during a Kickstarter to keep up with that kind of stuff. But man, does it really make a difference, I think, from building that personal relationship with now your consumer, and now I'm gonna go tell 3 or 4 more people about it.
yeah, and I think the hardest thing I can only imagine for the creators is dealing with the $1 troll backers, because it's a very interesting thing because you look through, because
Yeah.
a lot of times there's very legitimate things that backers are worried about, very legitimate, and other times it's just obnoxious. But finding that balance to where you're not ignoring people, because if you ignore them, then people get upset. Well, why aren't you answering Kim's question? She
Yeah.
has a question. Why aren't you answering it? And you can't say, well, because Kim doesn't know what she's talking about and
Just
she's
being a jerk
blowing. Yeah. Um,
all the time,
but
it's
finding a way
wild.
to engage and then move past it, it just, I can't
Yeah.
fathom how hard that must be.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I've seen Connor McGooey from Inside Up, like, so his newest game has these tiny little clay three-dimensional pieces, and people were like, "Well, what's the quality of that? It's gonna snap off and break." And so he filmed a video of him dropping them from a certain height and then throwing them on the ground. And then I think he did another photo in one of his updates was putting a 15-pound weight on top of the structure because that game's really odd. The board is or the box is used within the game. So it's a top and a bottom and it's got these structural pieces and people were commenting that they were afraid, well, that's not going to hold up. And so he stuck a 15-pound weight on it and said, "This is the copy I've been playing on for quite a while." And like he's not there he's one that's not afraid to back down and show that kind of stuff. And
yeah,
I get it. I was like, "Well, okay, I guess I do." I didn't think about that being an issue, but I
But
think I
once
just
someone said
expected
it,
the
you did.
production quality.
Yeah, well, so, and, I would just say if it was me, I would clearly put Beatrice on top of it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, clearly.
I think both of mine are too big. I don't know that they would have made it. I don't know that a game needs to hold the weight that is my corgi or my shepherd.
Well, if it's deluxified, it better.
That's true.
It's, chubby corgi rated, right?
Yeah.
The
Chubby corgi approved.
yeah, the other
We got a
one
whole new rating system for the channel.
that's great. There's another one recently that I thought ran a really strong campaign, and they made mistakes at the beginning, and I know the, gentleman who was in charge with the English language content, because it was a Chinese game that's being turned into, printed in English for the first time, and the mistake they made was they didn't start early enough.
Yeah.
And he knew that going in. He said, it's going to be tough. We started late, but the game's a Ping Yao First
Oh,
Chinese Bank.
yes. Yes.
Great game. I hope you backed it.
I did. No, 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 no. So
You
we
blew
were
it.
also supposed to review it, and I was sick and didn't get to review it, so I didn't get to see it at all. So I completely botched that one. A friend of ours, another reviewer, got to try it, and he loved it. So I'm hoping I can talk him.
Which one is that?
Board game mechanics.
And they did a cool thing with the campaign. And it again, they started late, but they had for several weeks out prior, maybe a couple months, they had reviewers onto the tabletop simulator and they
Mhm.
streamed a game, and the reviewers that finished with the top scores got to do a giveaway of a pledge.
Oh, that's cool.
And there was a whole bunch of people, and uh,
We were
I,
supposed to stream it.
mm,
It's hard. Completely side note, as we run, it's sometimes hard to be a reviewer and stream stuff because you TTS running TTS and trying to stream it is a huge hog on your computer.
that I don't understand why TTS takes up so much.
It's such a hog.
Yeah, I have I got a brand new Mac for this kind of stuff, and even now this brand new, and it's like all the touch screen buttons and all kinds of
Yeah.
stuff. I turn that tabletop simulator on, and that fan's just like
Ugh. Yep.
going crazy. But so it was a very cool thing. But it's that kind of creativity, I think,
Yes. That's really smart.
that can start to engage and get people excited. And because I think there's more than just doing giveaways.
Yeah.
Because
I
people,
mean, everybody likes free stuff, but
but how many times have you seen on Facebook, oh, giveaway, and you takes you to the Gleam page, and I'll
I'm
go,
not a
oh,
fan.
okay, click, 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 and then often I never even go and look at it.
Right. Yeah, you're just doing the motions to get, and so you're not connecting with whoever that creator is or whoever that publisher is. You're just clicking to get the entries. I mean, we ran into that. We did a giveaway and I didn't do Gleam, and just to hopes to, up viewership on the channel, and didn't. I think people still enjoyed it, but it doesn't do the thing you expect it to do because they're just looking for the free thing. I don't
Yeah,
mean that in a bad way. Sometimes I'm the one looking for the free thing.
yeah, and I do. I do. So I do giveaways for milestones. Like I just did a
Yeah.
1,000 likes on Facebook and 1,000 subscribers, and we'll do 2,000. Whatever.
Yep.
But I don't use Gleam. It's just I just do
We
a
haven't
Google
either.
form, and you get one entry just because you feel like it, and then I put you get extra entries if you subscribed and all that kind of stuff, and I'll get a few subscribers, and if a few people will actually become returning viewers, which is great.
Right.
But yeah, it's not a huge. I don't know that they work. I guess is what I'm getting at. I don't know
Yeah, I
that
don't see a lot of people then sharing it. Hey, I signed up for this thing. You should sign up for it too. I don't know if it's
because I
happened
don't
with
want you to sign up because I want to win.
exactly. Well, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, well, the less people I tell about this, the better my chances are to win.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I see a bunch of those. Like, hey, come like this, and I don't get as much in BGG forums, so I don't know if there's more of that in there or not.
And I don't know. Maybe once have I ever entered one of those and then gone and backed it if I wasn't already going to back it.
Right.
And that only happened with actually with Too Many Bones because I didn't know anything about it. I saw a giveaway. I was like, oh, wow, that's kind of what's that? And then I actually went and the way the Board Game Geek does their giveaways, you get extra entries if you answer questions right. And that was
Okay.
back when I actually thought maybe I could win. And so I was actually going in and really looking and finding the answers to these questions. Like, oh wow, that's actually Yeah, I'm gonna have to back that if I don't win. That's the only one, and that was
Yeah.
3 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Like,
I mean, it's hard. Like you said, there's so many. I mean, how many Kickstarters have just been out in the last week or two? I mean, big
tons.
ones, great ones, amazing ones. And on my checking account went, "Whoa, buddy, you can't do all these."
Yeah,
So it
that's
has
that.
to be the ones that grab me more that I have that, or I backed one of their games previously and I've built that. They've done a good job and built that emotional connection with me that now I'm backing more of their games.
Yeah, that's probably been the best thing about doing previews and stuff. Is I
Yeah.
get copies of it. It was funny the other day we were playing. Actually, it was that Valor and Villainy game, and my wife said, "Oh, you did this one that they sent you for review." I was like, "No," I was like, "I actually backed that." And she it was funny. She's like, "Wait," she's like, "You paid for a game?" And she said, "Paying for games that feels
It
so
is nice. You get to
passe."
try before you buy a little
Yeah,
bit, you know what I
yeah.
mean?
And I was like,
Though I tend to
I
back
do
more
buy some
because of it.
occasionally, but it has been great for my wallet. Let me tell you.
True.
So we've talked about what gets us excited about a campaign. We've talked about kind of best practices about a campaign. Now, what gets you worried about a campaign? That was a knowing evil laugh.
It's well, it goes back to what I kinda said earlier, is the only interaction that I've seen or heard of this game that you're talking about is the communication that I just had with this publisher. I've seen it nowhere else. Nobody else is talking about it, and or they're new. Now I did find there was a campaign, it was local to me, that I was super nervous for them, but they were so amazing and um they were very passionate about the project, but they were people who, oh, I forget what the terminology is. They like to go cave exploring.
Spelunking.
Thank you. So that's the only market that they had even shown this game in. They had no idea that there was a board game community. And so I'd met with them and they were they were probably going to do okay maybe with just their normal group, but we kind of met and went, hey, there's this whole website that you can put your game on, and there's a whole, and so they ended up funding, but I that was the first time that I had run into someone who'd created a game that didn't know anything about games. They just knew about what their hobby was, and so they were selling it in shops, gift shops and stuff of natural parks and stuff like that. That one was called Gone Caving. If you haven't seen it, it is a really fun card game.
I think beyond the things that we've talked about already, the thing that will get me the nervous or most worried the quickest is defensiveness
Yes.
on the creator's side.
Yep.
And don't get me wrong, I understand. This is your baby. You have put thousands of dollars into this.
Absolutely.
Already, you have put bazillions of hours into this. But if you're bringing it to crowdfunding, that is the beast.
Mhm.
And if you are defensive, that doesn't mean that everything's right. It doesn't mean you have to say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to change this." But when they're defensive, that is
Yep.
going to end poorly.
That's a great point. Yeah. Because if you can't take getting feedback from someone who's here to help support you, because that's what I kind of view what I'm doing oftentimes. If I'm doing a Kickstarter, at least now, I'm doing it because I'm invested or interested in your project too and want hope to see you succeed. And so if you're not taking feedback from that kind of positive place, what are you going to take whenever it's out there and just the trolls and the cutthroat people are now feeding you stuff? Because general populace will not be as kind. If they're gonna give you their money, they're gonna demand some answers on some stuff.
All right, so now this the last question before we move on to talking about mouse cheese relates to you as a backer, not as a reviewer. When you're looking at a campaign, oh, apparently Beatrice wants to come into this room. Hold on, she is knocking at the door.
Beatrice would like to be involved in the conversation, please. The queen has spoken.
And for
Hi,
those of you watching,
Beatrice.
here she is.
I love how queenly she is.
And then
Like
I'm going.
anytime you post pictures, I'm telling you, those are the best pictures you post. I'm not knocking any reviews or games and stuff, but when Beatrice is in it, you always have my attention.
I pretty much everybody. So and I'm
She's
going to
so
put her
cute.
down, and she's going to walk right back to the door and say, "Let me out." Is what's
Uh
going to
huh.
happen. She just wanted to make her presence. So look at that. She's already looking to the side, like, "Oh, this is boring."
You people bore me. I
Eh.
love it. She's the
So,
best.
when you are looking at a campaign as a backer, what do you like to see as far as previews on the page? Because my personal feeling is when I'm looking at something, you got to have someone has to have looked at it.
Mhm.
And that's not because I am a content creator and I want to perpetuate my success, big air quotes there. Um, but it's because that to me that shows that they have created something and sent it off to
Yes.
somebody else for their feedback, showing that there is at least that transparency. It does
Yeah,
exist in some form or other. And the second thing is I always like to see at least one unpaid preview.
for sure.
And it's not because I have a problem with paid previews. I don't. But if and I don't do paid previews. I did one paid thing for something, but I was evaluating it as a teacher,
Oh,
not as a
gotcha.
because it was for teachers.
Yeah, we don't
But
either.
that's that is to me that is you are now an advertisement and you are
Mhm.
now
Yeah, it
hyping
changes
a
the
game.
dynamic of what you're saying
Yeah,
drastically,
and
in my
you are
opinion.
beholden to the people that are paying you, which again
Yep.
is not a problem. But I don't, and I understand why you do those because they have huge audiences and most of them make fantastic content. But I also want to see somebody that is not beholden to you in any way,
Mhm.
shape, or form. And they're just going to say, I like this, I don't like this. So if they don't have at least that, I'm wary. Doesn't mean I won't back it,
Yeah.
but I'm looking.
Yeah, I agree. And I will go through and look. I will go through and probably look for, because they're usually tiered, right? I mean, most of the time you have names that you recognize, names that you've heard of before, and then people that you're
And
not
then
really
Hungry
sure who
Gamer.
they are. At least before I was doing, it's just I'm usually down here. I will try to pick something from each of those tiers to get an idea of what, because there are publishers, there are creators out there who, if I see their stuff on a video, I'm always going to watch it. Like, I usually check theirs, but I do want to watch the smaller channels and see what their voice is on it too. Sometimes it matches, sometimes it doesn't, and I just, being a small content creator, I like to show love to other small content creators, so I want to get, they need some views too, and I just want to see what they think about it,
Yeah.
because it's not always, I like to see different styles of videos on a Kickstarter rather than a rehash of the rules, 7 times. So I look for some that do that kind of stuff too.
Yeah. And I will, and I always have the utmost respect for the uh, designers and companies that will put up a review that will have concerns on it as well.
Mhm.
And I mean, that's what I always do that for all of mine. And it's
Yeah.
every now and then someone gets really angry. I have gotten a few of those, but I will always look for those, the people that will say, here's some unanswered questions that we have
Yeah.
about this. What this is a fun game if the replay is there, or if this design element, this box thing and clay miniatures, if that all holds together, great. But take a look. Is that going to happen? What are they doing? So with the Kingdom Rush Elemental Uprising, which is on
Mhm.
GameFound right now, it's, I don't know, it's like $500,000 or something in, has stickers. And you put stickers on cards.
No.
And so, and they're removable stickers. They come off.
Okay. All right.
But
I was like,
people,
no, if I'm paying for a Kickstarter and then I have to put stickers on my own stuff, I'm out.
yeah, yeah, it's a because you can upgrade your stuff, and when you upgrade it,
I
you
gotcha.
put a sticker on. But people are like, well, hold on, stickers like that's not going to last.
Yeah.
And so, in this one, I think maybe I talked about it. I don't know, but one of the things of a well, if these work and if they don't go crappy after 5 games, then that's cool. But take a look. What are they going to do about it? And then I use this example
Yeah.
because there's not actually stickers; they're micro suction cups. I don't know why I
That's a
put that in
clever
quotes. That's
marketing
actually what it
term.
says. Um,
That's a clever
and
marketing term.
like it has a little bit of like the science, like what these things are. And then at the end of it
Nice.
says, but if you think we're full of it, we're going to give you an extra set of stickers anyway. Uh, or
That's fair.
is it something like that? But, those concerns are there. And so they weren't
Yeah.
running away from these concerns. They're
That's
saying, hey,
good.
here they are. And we're, here's our answer to it. Now, on the other hand, I've had one where it drives me a little bit batty because they keep running ads quoting me,
Oh,
but they didn't use my video on their campaign because I talked about issues that they had with it.
interesting.
Oh, well, the first ad they were running actually quoted me out of context, and that really,
Yeah, that's not cool.
yeah, they said, this game is a must back, Hungry Gamer. When what I actually said was, well, if you like this, and this doesn't bother you, then this game is a must back. Like that's what I said.
I like it
But
better if they ask me for a quote that I then provide versus watching my video and taking a quote
yeah,
from it.
and most creators I see, they say, they'll reach out and say, hey, can I pull this quote from your video? Sure, great. Um, but the thing that got me about that was not that they weren't using my video because I didn't get the views, fine,
Yeah.
but that they were hiding from the criticism.
From the yeah, yeah.
And
Just
sometimes what
own
I'll
it and
do
go with
is,
it.
yeah, I'll just go to YouTube or whatever it is, and I'll just do a search and see if are there other videos that are out there that they aren't using. Why aren't they using those?
Mhm.
And I think that that is very illuminating. I mean, obviously, sometimes it's almost like, I don't like this game. Okay, well, you're not going to use that video,
Sure.
but
I always find that interesting whenever there's I mean, I guess you can't put every video on a Kickstarter because then it would be too cluttered. And I think when I have seen some campaigns that have a ton of videos, I have felt had the sense of it feels like it's too much. But
mhm,
then on the flip side, being a creator, if you gave me a copy of the game and I'm doing this for you, probably, and a lot of times maybe I'm forwarding that game on to somebody else. I'm not even keeping that copy, or it's a prototype copy, so it's not, it depends on what level of prototype it's in. Then if I'm not on the Kickstarter page, but I'm still out there, it kind of turns into, well, everybody, the views are going to go to those that are on the Kickstarter page. So how do you choose? Are you? Oh, that's a weird question. I would love to hear from publishers. How do you choose what you put on there versus? Because I get it, you probably want more voices than the 4 or 5 you have on your Kickstarter page. Do
y-
those of us just hope that you do a search and you find it on BGG instead, or something of the like?
yeah. I think having spoken to, I mean, there's very different tactics to it. I know, for example, like Lucky Duck Games afterwards. Well, you go look at their campaign. There's a whole bunch of review previews. They send out a lot of copies of their game. They're
Yeah,
they're, they're kind of like the shotgun method. Like something will hit. Um, but there's other companies that are very very selective about who it is that they are willing to send something out to, and then I think it becomes a the person who is in charge of that are really kind of having to dive deep and say, okay, once you get past the shut up and sit downs or the rados or whatever that are going to get
yeah.
you a bazillion views, even if you just look at the box and walk away.
Hmm.
After that, who is it that these different smaller creators like us, who is it that they are reaching? What is it that they are doing? And what
Yeah.
is it that they can highlight? So, like, you're going to highlight components. I'm not going to highlight components. I'll talk about them when they're wacky, like a noise making monster bass.
It's pretty awesome.
Um, I know, right? But with me, you're going to get an article also, and you're
Yeah.
going to get a basic rules overview, which maybe you want out there, and then something. So it kind of depends on what is they're looking for, and I think in some ways that is an interesting target, and to find someone who's good at that is very very hard because
Yeah.
it's such a small community, and how easy is it just to be buddies with somebody, and but to keep kind of spreading that
Yep.
out, I think it's a very 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 very
It's not a I
challenging.
wouldn't want the job because the minute I say on one hand, like, "Gee, I'd love to be on every Kickstarter page that I do a review for," and on the other hand, I would legit look at a page and be like, "That's too many videos on it." Like, they're not all they're just cluttering up your page.
Yeah.
So them choosing, that's a tough job,
Yeah,
and
well, it's
I
actually
wouldn't
kind of one of my
want
bigger
that job.
fears is there's some designers and that I've become buddies with because I meet them
Mhm.
at conventions. Johnny Pack is one of them that he's local-ish to me, and so I see him at
Cool.
the local conventions and as well as the bigger ones, and we're buddies. We chat regularly, and I am terrified of the day that he puts out a stinker.
Yeah.
and I mean, he knows me. He knows that, if something doesn't work, I talk about it. Usually I give him a little bit of a heads up, like,
Yep.
there's one, I won't say which one it is. I reviewed it favorably, but I sent him a thing. Say, hey, I just finished. Just to let you know my quibbles. I'm calling this thing out, and because I'm always curious to see what he responds. And it's funny. On one of them, he's like, I told them I didn't want that in the game because it was good going through.
Yeah.
Um, and it's also fun because my wife will play any of his games with me because it's a style of game that she enjoys.
That's helpful. Yeah.
And so when we had Endless Winter, which he didn't design it, but he's doing all the development on it and designing all that stuff. But we were playing, and afterwards, I asked her what she thinks. She's like, well, this just doesn't work. This isn't okay. Like he needs to fix this. And so I sent him a message right away. I said, Sarah says that you need to fix this, and I'll be damned if he didn't fix it because he was like, she is on point. She is
Oh, that's
correct.
awesome.
Um, but so I just but we have the relationship. But the day that something comes out that I just don't think works, I'm terrified of that day.
Yeah.
So Johnny, don't screw it up.
Well, and I
Um,
even was nervous, like with our latest review for when we talk about mouse cheese. I was afraid I'd made it too short. I was terrified that I'd made it too short because there's a lot of things I love about the game, but we tend to try to keep most of our videos well under 10 minutes, if not within the if I can get under 5, it's just people don't have a lot of time. So
yeah,
I'm
that's what you
trying to
do.
get as
Yeah,
much information I can about a game if I'm only depending upon what kind of preview I'm doing. Component ones are hard for Kickstarters because a lot of times those aren't done. So, or occasionally like Weird Giraffe Games always sends me the best first player. Well, it's Galactic Raptor too. They always send me the best first player markers, and then I'm sad that that's not what they use in the game.
but you just segued us perfectly
I'm good at that.
into talking about the game that we're talking about today, which actually is live on Kickstarter right now. It's probably going to be about 1 week remaining
Something
when
like that. Yep.
this video posts. I believe it's at time of recording. I think it's got about 2 weeks remaining. But we are talking about mouse, cheese, cat, cucumber, and I'm showing off this giveaway copy I have that has the cucumber on
The
it
best start in the game right there,
to
man. I'm
make you
jealous that you
jealous.
have the cucumber. I have the cat.
As which is a hidden role game for 1 to 4 players, and is one that we've gotten to play as preview copies and on the digital app Sovereignty quite a
We can
bit.
play together.
Yeah, and let's talk about it. What do you like about it? What are your concerns about it? I'm gonna make you be mean to Seppi because he's
Being mean
watching.
stuff is kind of fun
Seppi
because
has been
he is a
watching this
strong
whole
human who
thing,
can take it.
sweating and waiting for us to talk about his stuff. I feel
So
like we should do a tangent for another 20 minutes and then come back to it.
just waiting
Yeah, yeah,
to bring it up to it, to build
yeah.
up to it. So what's funny? So I will preface it with I don't normally like hidden role games. I usually, in fact, because I love fight in a box, small box games. I love Squirrel or Die. I love Hedgehog Hop, and I was real excited about this one when Seppi first told me about it, and then he told me it was hidden roles, and I went, oh no, like, I don't like hidden roles. I'm terrible at hidden roles. I just like, oh no, am I gonna like this game? And played with it through Sovereignty. I struggle seeing some of the patterns, but at the end of the day, it has certainly grown on me. I've heard some people say that this is the best title in his small box games.
I believe that was me that said that.
That might have been you. It might have been
Yeah.
some
Oh,
smart
well,
guy.
I'm
I
gonna go
don't
further.
know
I
who
think
it
it's the
was.
best
It was some
title.
really smart guy.
I think it's the best title that they have.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I could I do like processing though, but I've been spoiled because a lot of these games, Seppi is the one who demos to me, and if you ever have the opportunity to have a game demoed to you by Seppi Yoon, you have a very different experience with it. Like he's so amped up about it that you're amped up about it. And maybe that helped. But I was really blown away by the amount of game. There's a lot going on in here. It's not just a maze game. It's not just a hidden role game where I'm trying to find like Scotland Yard is a good example. That game, I don't care where the guy is. Like I don't care where he is. I can't stand that game. Um this one has a lot more going on with it because not all the characters are active in the beginning. So you've only got the mouse and the cheese hanging out there. So depending upon which character you end up playing as, which it feels like I'm always the mouse. I don't know how that happens. It just does. you're waiting on your time and you're just trying to build out the map. The thing I have a terrible poker face, so they almost always know that I'm the mouse anyway.
I mean, to be fair, the last time that we played on Sovereignty, we started and you said, "Oh, I'm the mouse." Like you just said it.
I think I've just given up. Like I'm really bad at it. Although sometimes I'll be like, haha, I'll say I'm the mouse, and they'll think I'm not the mouse, and I'm so clever, and I'm not. I just give it away.
Yeah, I
Um,
think
I think
it's
some of the
uh,
other characters have a learning curve. Do you know what I mean? Like this is not a game that you're gonna master the first time you play it.
and even more so than that, I think it's. I mean, the mouse and the cat are simple. I mean, it's
Mhm.
very clear, and you have such agency over your actions. But if you are the cucumber or the cheese, especially if you're the cucumber, it's a huge waiting game because I believe the cucumber's always in the bottom three, bottom five. I can't remember.
Yeah, something like that. It's the last. Yeah, it's within the last
Yeah,
very very few
yeah.
cards.
And so it's this huge, long waiting game, and you're trying to set the stage for you to win, but you have no idea what everyone else is actually doing at any given moment.
Yeah,
And I think those two roles are significantly harder. And the first few times, wow, the game takes 10 minutes. So I don't know, the first 6, 7 times you play, if you're wind up being one of those, you're probably going to lose.
yeah. Or
And
luck of the draw. The other two, the cat and the mouse, just can't get their act together, and then it comes down to either the cucumber or the cheese winning, depending upon when he comes out. That's usually my hope of if I can play the waiting game. If this game were any longer, I would struggle to play the waiting game because there would just be so much happening that I would just
right.
lose control of it. The game plays in just the right amount enough time that if you are playing the waiting game, you're not waiting for so long. Like I
Yeah,
think
and
that's the beauty. If it played any longer, I think if you were as a cucumber, I don't think people would like playing the cucumber as much.
yeah, I think yeah. So I think that's part of the challenge. I'm gonna do a quick pause and say I don't know if it's being picked up by my mic, but Beatrice is
Love
snoring.
it.
Yeah, so that's how exciting I am on a podcast.
She's
But
like, I hear this guy's voice all the time.
yeah, done
When's
with
he
it,
gonna get me a snack?
right? Um, but so and I think that and to me, I think that challenge of those two roles, the first several times that you play, is the biggest hurdle
Yeah,
to enjoying this game because I played with a couple of people their first times, and we played um, 3 or 4 times. I played with my brother 3 or 4 times, and the first three times he was the cucumber or the cheese,
yeah, that's
and he's
hard.
like this. He's like, yeah, okay, I don't really. But when he played as one of the others, he enjoyed it significantly more the first time, and I think that is really the only. I'm gonna use the word flaw. It's not a flaw. It just is what the game is.
Yeah,
But thing with the game is that you really do need to play all of the roles 2 or
yeah,
3 times
yep. Before you
before
start to
you
get them,
actually know if you like it.
for sure. I
Um,
think that, and I actually prefer. Now, I love being able to play on sovereignty because I like the socialization of it because we just have a lot of fun when we're playing. But I play the game better when I'm playing a physical copy because I can just see stuff better on it.
yeah,
That's probably the
the
problem for any
rotation.
game that you play on your computer is I can pick up the card and I can see how it moves and I can see the patterns a little bit better. I always laugh that Seppi will say, "Oh, I see how they can win." I never see that pattern
I think he's
because
just
I
full
think
of
he's
it.
kidding.
I think he's just talking.
I think he's just screwing with my head. Like, "Oh, I totally see how you can win." I'm like, "I don't see the thing." Um,
Well, you know how people have their filler words, but mine tends to be, I say that a lot, or
yeah,
his
mine
is
are
just, I see
so
how you can win. When he doesn't know what to say, I see how you can win.
I have fun when now we've played this game. Did have a chance to play it with two other folks who are in our social bubble, so we were able to expose them to it. Nothing else, no other exposures, and they got to try it out. And I think they both one of them was the cat or the mouse, and they won. But I was like, wow, this game. I felt like I understood more of what was going on. That I could see the little mouse holes a little bit better because each of those characters have their own special ability. I have not quite figured all of those out yet. Like I almost need a Seppi coaching of this is the opportune time because when I've tried it with the cucumber both times when I've been him, I play it wrong.
Yeah, you know,
I think I've got it figured out because you can place two tiles and I will to go I'm the cucumber everybody and then I will play it wrong.
Yeah, I think well, and I also think that's one of the things that makes the game work
Yeah.
is because you do have that element of, okay, I'm trying to figure out, other than Kim, who is the mouse, trying to
Right.
figure out who might be each, different role, and I know they're trying to figure me out, but
Yeah.
picking the time to use that once per game ability, if you're not the mouse, it's pretty easy with the mouse. Like you use that when you got to get away, or you can get to the cheese by using this right now.
Yep.
But the others, it's a real that to me is like the core puzzle of the game is when am I
It's
going to
so
do this?
puzzly.
When is this going to happen? And it is such a make or break moment that, like you said, if this was a longer game, would be devastating.
Yeah.
That when you use it at the wrong time, and if this was a game of Battlestar Galactica, which is a hidden role game that, and not hidden role, but hidden identity game that I
Mhm.
adore, that's a 3 hour game. If
Yeah.
I had a once
You do
per
that in the first
game
15.
power that was going to ruin it or win it, oh, that'd be horrible.
Yeah.
But it's so quick, and I think that's kind of what makes it work. And now I haven't played Squirrel or Die, but compared to Hedgehog Hop, the amount of gameplay in this box that is the exact same size,
It's astounding to
astronomically
me.
higher.
Yeah, they I will say Squirrel or Die is a simpler game than Hedgehog Hop. So they've grown in difficulty as he releases more of them. But it blows my mind that you if I see this sitting on the shelf, I'm not expecting a whole lot out of it. You know what I mean? Like if I know nothing about it, I'm just Joe Gamer hanging out in my game shop, and I see this, and I see that it has the 12-minute playtime. I would underestimate this for sure with the amount of actual thinky, puzzly stuff that's happening in there. It's I would have never ever ever guessed that all that happens in that tiny little box.
And that doesn't. I don't know if you've played the solo mode at all.
Well, there's 2 solo modes
Yeah,
now.
true. Well, I guess three technically because there's the puzzle
Yeah, we haven't
also.
tried the puzzle yet. I want to try the puzzle. I've heard the puzzle is not easy. We were
No,
playing around thinking about like how do these even go together as a puzzle? I'm like, this is hard.
yeah, I set it up. I gave it to my wife who does puzzles, and she solved it. She solved
Nice.
it. Apparently, the record is 45 minutes, and she solved it in I think an hour and 3 minutes or something like that.
It's pretty good.
Um,
Yeah, I had to
but
ask
and
about that on one of their streams the other day, as if they knew what the fastest time for the puzzle solving was yet.
yeah, the and I will say, had as Seppi told me later on that had I given my wife this version with the cards and not the one with the acrylic tiles,
Oh,
it would have been easier.
I could
Apparently,
see that. Yeah,
yeah. The apparently the acrylic tiles in the prototype version don't connect quite as well as the cards do, so
I
it was a
gotcha.
little bit hard. But I've played through one of the solo modes a lot,
Mhm.
and actually did a video for him. And then I think it's a
Yes, I think
20-minute
I did see that
video.
actually.
3 games are on there. I played 3 times because the first 2 times I did so horribly bad. I was like, "Ah, I better start again," and I just left them all on there. And what they told me, and one of the things that I had also said as something to watch for, is that if you are only going to get this game for solo play, that is all you're ever going to do. Well, one, it's $13, so
Yeah.
like you're going to spend more than that on your deluxe components for your Catan game
Yep.
or whatever.
I paid more than that for my geek bits for Quacks of Quedlinburg.
Oh, you paid more than a lot of stuff for those geek bits. Like let's not lie. Uh, but you could have bought another corgi for that.
I know.
But if you're only, I said, if you're only going to get it for solo play, maybe not. Maybe that's all you're going to do. Because if you're
Yeah.
playing, I think it really, like all of their games, it shines with more people. It just, the more
Oh
people you
yeah.
have, the more
Yeah.
fun it is. But apparently, and I don't know if this has even been published yet, they're working on a campaign style thing for solo mode.
That would be cool.
And I felt bad yet great because part of the like Seppi sent me a message. So we're doing this because you said it's not just for solo mode, and I was like, oh my. And one, I felt bad in my heart. I was like, oh, I hurt Seppi's little behatted heart.
I know.
But at the same time, that is amazing
Yeah.
if
They're
they're
doing a
going
lot to
to do that.
create this universe of this game.
And I think it shows. I
Yeah.
think it shows that
There was a
unlike
comic strip ahead of time
Mhm.
for you to
and
get to
it
know a lot of the characters.
yeah, and unlike with a a hedgehog hop, which is just fun, cute dancing hedgehogs. Like these characters have agency,
Mhm.
and you can absolutely have your favorites and want to play them. And I think that's super,
Yeah.
which kind of goes back to what we talked about with the Kickstarter campaigns earlier. Of that's intriguing to me. I want
Yeah.
to know more about this cucumber and why he's so salty. Like, I want to know, and I can find out. And so I think it's just, yeah, I already said it, but I think, and I said it in my article and everything, I think this is the best game in their catalog.
Yeah.
And, I really like processing. And I
I
think
like
Into the
processing.
Line here is very fun.
Oh, yeah, we like
Mm,
Amazon. We don't get to play that one as often because it doesn't work great at 2, but
yeah. And absolutely, and I mean, it's not for everybody because it's so mean.
yeah.
Like, to
But
play this
it's
one.
mean you're mean to yourself too. That's how it, like,
Yeah.
survive that's how you get away with it because 'cause you're just messing up with everybody.
Yeah, it's funny, so, like, to play this one because it showed up right at the beginning of lockdown for me.
Oh, okay.
I set this thing up, I stacked boxes up on the floor and put the computer on top and zoomed with Seppi and
Yeah.
Logan,
Yep,
and
that's what
I was
we
sitting
played
there
it over Zoom with
holding.
him too.
Yep, I was holding cards up to the screen. They
Yep.
say, "Okay, 3rd one from your left, play the." It's really fun, but I think I would pick Mouse Cheese over it. I
I
think,
would agree.
you know, I think they've really done something very special with a $13 game.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, and what's so cool about, like, this whole moving maze thing within it. So, if I were just placing tiles to create the room and make the paths, that would be a challenge in and of itself. But the fact that every tile that I play has those little gears on it that's gonna either turn everything it touches clockwise or counterclockwise. And so it's constantly I remember the first time he showed us this game, I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, the board state changes the whole stinking time." Like, "Oh my gosh, this." I mean, it'll burn your brain a little bit when you're trying to match the patterns and try to guess what other people are, which I'm terrible at trying to figure out what, roles other people are. And you think that you have like you'll get yourself set up and then somebody will turn one of those pieces on you because they're doing something totally different. It's clever. It's he's there's a lot of cleverness in this box.
a-
Um,
and it's interesting that you're talking about that. Like, you could almost play this game, and actually, I would be interested to actually try it, where ahead of time who's who, and it
mhm,
would still be a fun game.
yeah.
But anyhow, so I mean, we're obviously pretty high on this one, and
Yeah, and it helps. I mean, like I will openly admit, well, I'm a huge fan of Fight in a Box and all the people there because they're a wonderful team. They're a small team who are very passionate about their games. And so you can't if you get pulled into the circle and you play some games with them, you just can't help but feel just as passionately about them. I even asked him the other day if it was always these characters that they had in the game. Like, was it always a mouse, a cheese, a cat, and some cucumber? And it was, but I didn't understand why until they explained. So, of course, everybody gets it. A mouse, mice like cheese, cats like chasing mice. But where does the cucumber come into play? Apparently, it all came from cats, like real cats, not in their universe cats, don't like cucumbers. So they found a bunch various videos on the internet of people showing a cat a cucumber and the cat freaking out. And so that's what tied it all together.
yeah, it was all the rage for a little bit of, like, to the point where veterinarians started coming out and saying, "Please stop doing this. You're literally scaring your cats."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Somehow I missed that. Maybe it's because I'm a dog person. So I'd missed the whole hijack your drive your cat crazy with a cucumber. I had no idea that it was a thing.
yeah, it might work on your husband. Just,
I
when
could
he's not
try.
looking, just put a, if you get up earlier than him in the morning, just put a cucumber on the pillow next to him.
Like the horse's head in the Godfather.
Yeah, right. Or to take a cucumber and break it in half and just
You
put it.
know, the poor guy, I'm wild and crazy enough as it is. I feel like he would just take it in stride. Like he's so even keel and I'm just so out there all the time that he would just shake his head and be like, I don't know what that woman's doing, but she's up to something again.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, thanks, honey." Just picks it
Yep.
up and eats it. But in any event, we have gone way longer than I originally promised,
Sorry about
which,
that.
yeah, that's, everybody, down in the description, you'll find a link to Tabletop Rebellion, so you can check that
Thanks.
out, whether you are listening or
Come hang out.
watching. If you are watching, there will be a link down there to just the podcast version if you want it, and vice versa for if you are listening, depending on where it is that you are listening to this. And additionally, as we said, Fight in a Box, or excuse me, Mouse Cheese will be live for a few more days after the
Go get it.
airing of this. So go check it out. It's a $13 game. I'd say if anything that we said sounds interesting, it's worth taking the $13 flyer on with, I don't know,
For
$4
real.
shipping or whatever. I don't know. So go check it out. Kim, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for
Everybody,
having me.
thank you for watching. As always, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Stop. If you're a bad person, I just don't want your game. Like I
Yes.
had
Yeah. Uh, Luckily, most of the people we've had have been really nice. I've only run into a couple of stinkers so far. Like, it hasn't been too bad.
be right
Made
back.
sure that it said that it was brewed before I brought it on
It's all right
camera.
because Michael Kelly couldn't find anything in his house, and he drank Kahlua and milk,
Oh my gosh.
which is just like a White Russian without the
Yeah.
Russian.
Yeah. Without the
Uh,
Russian.
so a white? Ooh, that sounds bad.
I'm hesitant because the dogs are on the other side of the baby gate and they're quiet.